And then once we got like the theme and the vision, the execution was going to be supreme because we knew, you know what I'm saying? Like we knew
Hmm.
what it had to more feel like, not sound like. It had to feel like that thing that gets you, like we're in the studio, you know what I'm saying? I'm like a 5-year-old. And if I'm not doing that on every song, because that's what I need to do to perform it every night, it's parts I hear where I'm like, oh my God, that should still get me chilled.
Microphone check, 1 2. What is this? It's the 5'7" assassin in the podcast business. I am your host, Rohan Patra, the rap music plug at your service. Here we are again at the end of a rainbow. As purely a consumer of music, one of the most rewarding and genuinely valuable things to me is the ability to articulate why a particular piece of art resonated with me. It's a big reason why I started this podcast. Even without being a creator of the music myself, I do think there's a lot of insight and provocative thought that someone like me can provide that can hopefully color your experience with the music as the listener of this show. But that being said, there's nothing that can replace the perspective of the artists themselves, particularly those that really live and breathe this rap shit. Nosaj of New Kingdom and Height Keech comprise the group known as Wave Generators, and they certainly fall under this category. As there are many times during today's episode where they perfectly illustrate the intrinsic beauty of the creative process, somehow putting into words such an abstract concept with ease. This was a fascinating conversation that detailed the organic connection within wave generators and how they conjured up such an impactful feeling with their debut record, After the End. The Rap Music Plug podcast presented by QLC TV is the remedy to the I don't have anything good to listen to problem. Through in-depth artist interviews, album reviews, and general rap commentary on the best that the underground rap scene has to offer, this is your one-stop shop to knowing what to add to your queue, play next, or pop into your record player. Welcome to the show. Height Keech, Nosaj, how you guys doing today?
Doing great, doing great. Thanks for having us.
Gratitude is my attitude, man.
Man, thank you so much for being here. Love this new album, man. Love it, love it, love it. I was really intrigued when I first got into this record because both of you are quite wild cards when it comes to like what music you could be a part of. You're very unique in your own right, and I'm like, okay, this will be a pretty fascinating combination. I think the when I was given the record, I was given it with the press kit, so I got to see the write-up that I think is the same write-up that people see on like the Bandcamp and everything like that. And
Right,
I
right.
was I was very intrigued. But the thing right off the bat that I my eyes kind of drew to before even listening to the music was that you guys have a group name. It's not Nosaj and Height Keech, it's Wave Generators, which signaled to me as a listener that this was likely like a partnership that wasn't just like Nosaj rapping over some beats you sent him. Like it felt like it was something different. That's just all the assumptions I made, and I think that really came through on the record. So, talk to me first about like what inspired this particular kind of collaboration and like what was the kind of music you wanted to make together.
Well, I think yeah, like we were talking about it right before we started, but like the big thing was just stuff that we want to do live and feel good about. Like we could potentially play like a ton of shows a year and do these songs again and again, and sort of like in our minds something separate from like a studio collab or like a long distance collab. Yeah, and that I guess from my perspective, that was like our ideas changed a lot from the beginning of the project to where it is now, but that's the thing that's like stayed current throughout the whole thing.
I mean, besides the fact that we had like loosely collaborated on side collaborations I was on. Like he may have like did some production or whatever, because maybe it seemed like all roads were leading this way. I mean, we kept talking about that during the album. Like this is crazy. Like how like his career, his life, and it brought him to New York from Baltimore, where I was going in my career, my previous collaborations, you know, ideas that I had, on my return, which were, you always have to improvise these ideas and these plans you have, but then you have these great surprises that happen. It was all leading to, okay, I think people are familiar. At some point, I think it's time to show them me, you know, and it was just something that I think both of our careers were coming to that point where like, okay, we made, we did a lot of things really good, but you can see like if I could, because I'm DJing the album release part, I've been listening to a lot of Height's old stuff. You see pockets of wave generators in each of our, like in
Mm-hmm.
the last like 3 4 years. So you could see it, but it was maybe, it wasn't something that I concentrated on. But you're like, but that's a sweet spot right there. That seems like a sweet spot. Like, so I think once we decided, like once he asked me to be a part of before we even had a name, a part of what he was doing, and he said, I'm making this shit for the stage though. Like I want this to be a touring thing. And that was like exactly where I was, because I was like, Dad, I like a lot of my shit I've been doing, but it's kind of slow. And I feel like I want to like go on stage. Like, and also these are the shows I want to go to. Like I need to go to a show that's gonna shake it up. And so we were just right there, like literally, like all roads led to this.
Yeah, that's really fascinating because I really get the impression from this record that it's something that you both really wanted to do. Like I get a real enthusiasm. That's the word I'd say. Um,
Almost needed to do
mm,
more than even wanted to do, like had to do, like, like had to feel a way you haven't felt before, because that's the whole idea every time, right? To continue feeling a way you haven't felt before, because then that's what gives people who listen that raw feeling. But to do it, well, once again, like in your sweet spot, it's because it's not an easy thing to do, to keep it the train on and to keep that feeling going, that like feeling of being alive, which is why we started making records in the first place. And so, yeah, I think we just had to do shit.
yeah, I mean, when I first got this record, it might have been like earlier in the week. Or I think I received it before, but when I actually started listening to it, it was like early in the week. I was really run down, busy with like kind of work, stress, and all that. And I just found myself listening to this album like a lot and almost kind of unconsciously. I'm not a huge like, oh, I listened to this album, let me replay it immediately. Like I'm always very conscious of like I don't want to wear things out too early. And I usually have a lot of other things like to listen to. There's so much good music out, so I'm not like always going like that. But this, like I think in within the first 2 days, I was into it like 7 times. And I was
Oh,
just like,
Oh
and I was
yeah.
just like, I didn't even really realize that I was listening to it that much. And I'm just like, yo, I really like this album. Like, I should have these guys on. This is like really hitting me, especially than maybe kind of even what I expected. So, and when you talk on like the careers of you both, like you've both built very long-standing kind of careers of zigging when the rest of the crowd is zagging, right? And like I think with your sound, Keech, like you've always had this incorporation of rock in your music, but as I think as Nosaj said, there's been elements of it, but I think on this latest record there is a certain level of focus and some pieces of the kind of pie being kind of upped, like the ante being upped a bit, and then with Nosaj, obviously with New Kingdom since the 90s, like you've been on the cutting edge of some very abstract, creative music. Even in the preparation of this interview, I was really interested in reading up on some of the interactions you've had with people like Tricky and things like that, and seeing how vital you were. It all kind of makes sense now that I kind of learned about it a bit more. And so I guess just I'm wondering like what, as you've kind of been before Wave Generators even started and you've been kind of in the peripherals of each other's careers, like what have you admired the most about each other's style and approach to making music?
Oh, well, I would say, I mean, like New Kingdom for me is something where it's like beyond just a group that I liked from the 90s or something. You know, it's like there's a thousand of those, but like it was like one of my most main inspirations, you know. And I would say I even as I started to get hip to all the Nosaj solo stuff, it's still like I had no idea where he was coming from, and that's kind of like what I like is where it's like I love when I hear music and I just have no idea how it's being made or where the people are coming from or anything, and it's just kind of a mystery. So it's like I think all musicians are trying to be themselves and be true to themselves and all that, but I feel like us meeting, I realized like, oh, there's levels forever of being more and more true to yourself
Mm.
or something. And I feel like that's his like a lot of his like process and his way of making music is just like self-discovery or something. And it like he's a really, really abstract type of thinker. And we have these like crazy far out conversations, which a lot of times I don't even know what they mean in the moment, and then I think about it later and I understand. But like, yeah, I think that I mean I didn't know what his approach was to making music until we started, and then I've just learned more about it the whole time and really learned a lot from it, you know, if
Yeah,
that
I
makes
mean,
sense.
Oh, I totally do.
I don't even know what my approach is. Like, it's different for every moment. But yeah, I think that the thing about especially listening to the record, like after you record it and after you have to reflect on it and work it for the stage, that's a whole different muscle memory. But actually listening to it now, first of all my favorite records are 3D. So this record is 3D. Like you put this shit on, this shit is 3D. It's like those, what is that? What was that back in the like, I don't know, the 50s or something when you go to a movie theater and they give you something to
The
scratch and
3D.
you smell it
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
and it smells
those. Oh,
mellow
like those
vision.
OG ones.
Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah.
right. That's what this record is. Like that, and that to me, I mean, that was a big part, all praise due to Scotty Hard, that the New Kingdom records felt that way. Like when you put them on and when you put this record on, it feels that way. But it does sound like those abstract conversations that we have. Like the takeaway from it, not like the okay, it comes on, but the takeaway from it sounds like, yeah, the weird conversations that we would have about music, about life, about our careers, all of that. Like that's what to me the record sounds like. So it's not so much the actual vocabulary, it's the swatches of the colors that sound like us. And you know what I'm saying? Everything that we talked about. And then once we got like the theme and the vision, the execution was going to be supreme because we knew, you know what I'm saying? Like we knew
Hmm.
what it had to more feel like, not sound like. It had to feel like that thing that gets you, like we're in the studio, you know what I'm saying? I'm like a 5-year-old. And if I'm not doing that on every song, because that's what I need to do to perform it every night, it's parts I hear where I'm like, oh my God, that should still get me chill. If it still gives me make at the same part every time, it could be 10 years from now. I know we did it. We executed exactly even beyond what what the actual plan was. But we actually made that plan 3D. And when people hear it, they're like, the fuck is this shit? I don't know what the fuck this is, but I like it.
No, I love that. I think what you're saying is so real about like knowing how it feels because that's the how it's supposed to feel because that's the hard part. Executing it like technically doing the
Mm-hmm.
beats, laying the rhymes, like that's actually the easier part. But actually getting that like that intangible like what do we want this to what do you want this resonance to be? Like that's the
Mm-hmm.
special sauce. That's what makes an album feel kind of flat and an album feel 3D special, all of that. And
Mm-hmm.
to understand a bit more about what you two kind of uniquely bring to the table, I want to rewind to last year because there was two strong records that you both put out that I really want to highlight.
Mm-hmm.
And so starting with you, Nosaj, when we're talking about your way to approaching music, that is, I want to like kind of key in on that a bit more because you dropped House of Disorder with Steel Tip Dove, which I have to say was like a slow burner to me because I like doing a drop, but I feel
Mm-hmm.
very recently I've revisited it
Uh-huh.
and it's hitting like so much more. Like I have
That's awesome.
it's really
Yeah.
fun and what it had me realize with you when I was listening to that and then listening to this new Wave Generators thing is that it's really solidified for me that you're really good at songwriting. Like,
Oh,
especially when it comes
thank
to
you.
like these really strange earworm hooks and expressive delivery, like it comes across really strongly, like the Beatles song off House of Disorder. Like, it's really weird to hear it on first glance, maybe, but like it's just immediately comes like and stays in your head. And then there's so many songs on this new album, The Season, One Man Can, like it's really incredible. And so I'd love to know a bit more about your songwriting process. Like what does that actually look
Mm.
for you when it comes to the lyrics, the thinking of the hooks, thinking of the flows and all of that?
Well, I mean, a lot of times, like I just have things written, right? So, you know, whatever, like everyone else, like, you know, and so I probably have more, uh, what do you call it? Like camera flash, like, like lyrics made in most people. Like I have like just flashes of like a moment, and then I'll just write it down. It just be one line, and it could be a million different things. And so, like, I had to have like a box, literally, of just like it's a big box, and it has tons and tons of papers and toilet tissue, like all kind of shit. Whatever I write on boxes, brown paper, whatever the case, books are in there, everything. So sometimes, like, say we're demoing something, and say Height sends me something, I might listen to it. I might put it in my Serato and say it's like 79 beats from there, wherever it is. I just might start playing like, you know, some jazz shit, Cecil Taylor, or something over some Yoko Ono, whatever, over what he just gave me to take myself out of my comfort zone. So to take myself out of, okay, this is this, boom, I know what I'm gonna do to this. No, I don't want to know what I'm gonna do to this. Yeah, I'm just trying to just like let me just see how it pops, like without just listening to it like that. So sometimes I'll do that, and I'll just I'll be playing shit, and then I'll send him some shit in the morning. It'll be like 11 a.m. jam session over. It's me like Miles Davis shit. I'm popping all kind of shit in there, and then I'll like see how fast it is. I might see if, say, like there's a Deborah Harry song that I like. Then I'll do some, get the acapella and put the acapella over the joint like this and do like anybody dollar, and see what that feels like. Like, what is the, like, because I know it's whatever I'm trying to unlock is somewhere because these are the reason why I'm picking these things, these specific things. So it's somewhere in there, right? And
Hmm.
it's only like one scenario, maybe. And then I just go on my shit. And then once we talk and we decide, okay, yes, this is a this, you send me this is a tone we're using, this is part of our you know, the house we're building, and this is going to be the, you know, the paint on the walls for this room, then I kind of have a better idea of how to approach my vibe on it, like my
Mm,
spin on it more. And so then that's when I start looking to see if I have anything. So I might have something that is, you know, Santana, Coltrane, My Religion. I'm just reading it. Santana, Coltrane, My Religion. Oh my God. Let's see. That's good. I don't remember when the melody or
mm,
anything. I'm looking at, but now I'm listening to this, and I'm like, I'm like, and then it just you just it's something that where it hit you. Santana, Coltrane, my because this is the thing that we're talking. You know what I'm saying? Like it
yeah.
hits you. So my thing is like if I have the words, I kept these words for a reason. I don't just throw anything in these things. So it's there. Sometimes I might have to write it over. Like it might, you know, I'm looking at it, okay, but this isn't how I talk now, but I understand the meaning that I'm saying. Maybe I'll write it over and put it on this. So it's all, you know, it, every song is like every room is different, and it's like how to approach it. A lot of times I like it when he does a verse first because I prefer to get in where I fit in.
Mm,
So to see them, okay, that's okay, because that like with the Arm and Hammer shit, like all the, you know, doing hooks for people, I that's my favorite shit, is to like accentuate what you're already doing
yeah.
and bring flavor to it, but not lose the vibe, because that helped me with my own songwriting. So when I thought about that for other people, I was like, I need to think about that for myself. You know what I mean? Like I really need to think about shit like that. So I mean, each approach is different, like, which is dope with us because we know once we knew, like, you know, what the vibe was, what the colors were, and you know, then you just start sending each other stuff. Okay, we need to go to the studio today. We need to do, and we go in there to do something. And I'm like, but you made anything new? And then he's, oh yeah, I've been working on this because he's like, I'm not working on shit if it ain't wave generated. So if he's
Mm,
gonna play it, I'm listening to it in the booth for the first time, and we're on I'm a Lower East Side Soulful. You know what I mean? Like that because we on there.
yeah.
We on. You know what I'm saying? Like but now we on. And now we okay. Yeah, this is gonna kill these mother. Okay, and that's what you then that's when the competitiveness and the shit the sport starts.
Yeah.
You got to get to that point of just like the confidence to be like, this is not about me. This is literally, I'm not trying to rip this shit down. I'm trying to rip this shit open. You
I
know what
love
I'm
that.
saying?
You were describing like a box that you put all like the kind of lyrics and the that actually reminds me of something I was reading before about with when you're recording for your second New Kingdom record where you were like pitched a tent in your apartment. That seems like the eerily similar to that vibe. Like you liked it. You really like creating with physical kind
Uh,
of constraint there, if you will. That's fascinating.
we lived in a tent. I had a huge loft, and we didn't have a bedroom, and so we just had a big tent. And we lived in this tent in the middle of a gigantic garage.
That's
Like,
crazy.
yeah, yeah,
That's crazy.
literally, we lived in the tent. Like, that was our bed. But yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, yeah. I used to have a bag. I used to have like a suitcase, I would bring it on tour. But now it's just a box, and it's literally like that's basically in my will. You guys can you guys can fight over this box.
It's all the most fire ideas you've ever
Yeah,
thought
yeah,
of.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Just
And with you Height, you dropped the collaboration with Hemlock Ernst, the Fall collection. It's excellent,
Oh,
and
thanks.
I really think you crafted like a unique set of rhythms and kind of energy for an artist like Hemlock, who's obviously very eccentric, very different, and someone that's also very, has a huge amount of kind of like diversity in their catalog.
Yeah.
And in working with Hemlock, like I wonder what did you learn from that experience working with an artist so one of one like that, and how did you bring that kind of experience to your work with another very unique artist in Nosaj with the wave generators.
Well, okay, I would say one of the my favorite parts of the project, or the thing I learned the most, was like I feel like he is a crazy hard worker and also like a perfectionist in a way, which I feel like is like, I don't know, a word that has a bad connotation, but it's, I don't know. It actually, on his song, I won't go through the bars, but on the song Muddy Chuckies, he kind of like breaks it down where he's like, they call me a perfectionist, but it's working perfectly, kind of is what,
Mm,
what he's saying. And like, it was just something where he had like very, very specific idea of what he wanted to do. Like, I think ultimately probably recorded, and we started to mix the whole album 4 times. like and he'd just be like, oh no, none of my takes are good, and it's just, we start the process completely over basically. And like, I don't know, in the moment it's a little bit like, where is this going, but like as it goes, I don't know, that kind of, I feel like that kind of taught me like, it's like, if you got the time and the energy to do it, it's like there's no such thing as like working too hard on something, if that makes sense. Like I don't know, I always feel that with projects, like if I produce something and then people send me back a page of like 25 notes of things to change, I'm like, tight. You know what I
hmm
mean? Like maybe only 15 of the 25 will actually do anything good, but that's still like 15 things that are better or something, so I don't know, and I feel like a lot of that carried over to this, where it's like both of us were so like, it has to be a certain way, like we were open to obviously to each other's ideas and stuff, but like we knew we were chasing a feeling more than like, it wasn't like, yeah, Nosaj and Height need to make a record together because
hmm
I don't know, someone gave us some money or something. It's like, no, we know there's something that we're trying to do, and we're doing it, and it doesn't matter like how long it takes or whatever. So I kind of feel like that's maybe what carried over the most, I'd say.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. And from a musical standpoint, I feel like that record, the Fall Collection, was also a pretty interesting precursor to listen to that and then listen to what we get on After the End, because I think one, it like showcases your range personally. Um, but I think it also accentuated that there were some clear, deliberate artistic choices that were made and defined this Wave Generators record. Because while I do feel it shares that similar bass elements of having like very like strong hard rock sampling kind of elements and sounds on this record, the musical approach is very forward in the aggression and in the visceral kind of explosiveness that I think is just like really unique, and like there's not really like an immediate comparison that even comes to mind on another
Oh,
record.
word.
And so
Intent,
I
the intent is there. Like,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
every inch of it is. Yes, that's not enough. None of it is like a coincidence. Like he made it like, no, this is exactly what this is.
Yeah,
Like,
and that's what I want to understand a bit more is like how did you envision this album to sound like? Like what was that main goal?
Well, I think like a lot of it for me was like, you know, with Nosaj, like you said, he's like more, almost more like the songwriter than a rapper or something, which I find so appealing. Where it's like on House of Disorder, it's like there's these songs where it's basically just like you hear five hooks,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. Yo, that's so
with
true. That's so
and
true.
and
It's
that's
still good lyrics, but it's like it's a hook though. It's weird.
yeah,
It's just not nothing like it.
and it's like that's one of those things where I've always been sort of like that, and definitely inspired by New Kingdom and other stuff like that. Of like, yeah, we're not like trying to be a factory of like 16 bar verses. You're just trying to do whatever with like words and beats, and I think yeah, like stuff like with the Hemlock album, it's like he's more like a dense lyricist. So like there was still like the psych rock element, but it probably would have been too much to get into all these like crazy changes and turnarounds. It would just become like ridiculous or something. And I feel like with us, we're both so minimal that I feel like it like there's like a lot of space to be like, the beat can change again and again and again, and hopefully a way that makes sense.
No, I love that. I love that. And there's a perspective I've held for quite a while when it comes to like generally having guitars and rock and hip hop, which is that it's really hard to pull off. And I feel so many producers just flatly do it really poorly, or it's cheesy
Yeah.
to me. And I don't really know the exact reason other than I just feel like sometimes the tone feels like cheesy, like you get some of those like the worst renditions of like rap rock of like the early 2000s, that kind of thing. But then there's also just like it kind of feels boring sometimes. Like I'm not gonna name names, but there's some like really good, otherwise legendary producers that put guitars in their beats, and I'm always like, I don't want you to do this. I don't like this that much. I just don't know what it
Right.
is. But it's unsurprising that Height, you're collaborating with one of the producers that I think does it to such a fucking high degree and unique degree, which is Andrew, and in just
Oh yeah.
bringing in those kinds of sounds into hip hop in a way that is like so fresh, so original, and just sounds like amazing. And but again, you're different, and it's very different on this record because it's really aggressive, and there's even some. I almost feel like there's like a black metal wall of sound feeling on Reverse the Curse with
Yeah.
like the main kind of like initial parts, which is like maybe my favorite part of the whole album. Like
Oh, thanks.
and I just find it's brilliant, and I'd love to know specifically, given all of the very distinct, as you mentioned, like the different changes in beats, like complete drop on a dime, change in structures. Like, what was the recording process for how you kind of piece these songs together?
Oh, okay. Well, I feel like actually Nosaj, I'd say break this down because I feel like it all started with these like live recording sessions and stuff.
Oh, with the well, right. What I have like these like just little I don't even know what you call them. They're like sound vignettes, like these just small pieces of music that I'll just be in my house making. And are we talking about that? Or are we talking about the live thing with Euless?
Oh, I mean, I guess I just figured the genesis for like piecing this all together. Yeah, I feel like it
Yeah,
all just started from you recording like stuff where you're just in the booth for an
yeah, yeah.
hour or something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, a lot of times, yeah. I mean, I'm just jamming out, and we're going through like we're not even going through songs. We might be going through loops. We might be going through whatever, and I'm like, oh, let's work on this small piece of music, and I'm doing something over it. And then, like, say we put that to the side, and then there's another piece of music, and at some point, these things are get attached, like because this feeling seems to be very similar to this, although it may be a time shift or it may be, but they work together. Let's see if we're just gonna, you know what I'm saying, like attach these pieces. So yeah, I mean it's almost like putting garments together or something. You just have pieces of things that you're just like attaching together. So sometimes it's not just like, oh, we've created this instrumental where there are these three. different breaks. No, those were probably three separate entities
Right, right.
that ended up
Yeah.
together. And that when they're put together, it's like, holy fucking shit. Like, and that's the thing in the studio where, and you're just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Because it's not something that you didn't, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't pre-thought out. So it's just, but once again, it's just like having the lyrics in a box. If you make all this dope shit, all of it is dope. You know that. That's why you saved it. So let's just see. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes we're like, okay, these go really well, but we need something else to. And so we know, like, you know, so once we had it going, we've been there, like, it's all vision. Like, okay, we need a bridge. We need, okay, boom. And then, you know, Height, okay, I got a verse for this, I got a verse for this. And then he puts a verse that may have been the sound that we were looking for, but the way that his poetry, like if he starts like, you know, state the environment, state, you know, how he's feeling, his hurdle, his introspection, all these things on it, it gives it, like in the season when he comes in, it gives it something that no sound could have given it
Mm-hmm.
because his words and his flow now given it. So when I'm coming off the sound like it's the season and it's and then he comes in, no time, like you like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. You know what I mean? Because you feel the awakening of what he's saying and the awakening of what had to happen right after that emotion. So it's all of that. Like all these things are happening, but they go fast in recording process because we already for months talked about so much stuff. And so
Yeah.
we were ready to, okay, let's go and boom, let's just put it all together now. We have it. All the pieces are here. And then obviously once you're moving, then you get your special pieces like Lower East Side, like the a wave generator song, like the things that you make right there in the studio, like because you just there's no looking through anything. It's okay, we got this, boom, boom, because we know this is we had. Remember, we were like, oh, we need one more song. It just feels. Then we put that wave generator shit on there, and that shit was like, because it's the last song, and all I hear is, oh shit, what's the next record gonna sound like? That's we hear that.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's just your whole your just chills, and you just think, what's the next record gonna sound like? What's the
It
next
almost
album?
feels like a band like at the end of their set when they're like really jamming out to like end the
Yeah,
set. Like that's exactly
yeah,
kind of how where you're really like digging into it, really like the
yeah.
grooves hard. Like that's the feeling I get. It's a really nice closer.
Yeah,
Oh,
and the thing
thanks.
is, and that one part, remember, I hate that one part, that damn down. I was like, that needs to be a whole song. That needs to be a whole song. That could be a whole fucking song. And then he was like, hold on, I got this idea. And everything. I got this idea. Remember that part we had? And he put it on there. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah,
Oh
I feel like that's always a balance that we try to figure out. And I feel like with this we're working on the second album and we're trying to figure that out. Like the instinct of like you like something versus so that should be the whole song versus you like something so like wait till they hear this. Like you know what I mean? Like it's like you want to say you can't it's like you can't have a change unless it changes into it. So you know what I'm
right, right.
saying? Like
Yeah,
I feel like sometimes we've been like, okay, only this one part actually makes sense, and then sometimes we do it like a whole. Every change makes sense, you know.
yeah.
Hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah, I find like someone I don't know who was mentioned about like the beats being very or like you both being very minimal. Like you like minimalism a lot. I find this album is cool because like it can be very abrasive, it can be very loud, but it is pretty minimal like in moments. Like it's either just like and it feels like it's these weird like blasts of sound. Like Reverse the
Yeah,
Curse, if I
Mhm.
think of that one again, like you have the really kind of like I said, that really like black metal-y kind of drum forward thing. And then it just has these really isolated but really hard grooves of guitar and drums. And it's just like, yeah, I find it really fascinating how this album sounds and the kind of
awesome.
lightning speed that it flows between ideas really keeps you on your toes in a way like very few albums I've heard in quite
I
a while, not just this year, have like
I
made me
think
feel.
that's awesome to hear, man. I think like what we try to look for. is like, first of all, I think changes where I think it's easy to make a beat change. Like there's a lot of songs now that will just be forever changing, but like I think like a classic like pop song or like country song or something, it's like there's the chords in the verse, and then the feeling of like rising from the verse into the hook feels so good, but then going back into the from the hook into the verse again feels even better. And like a country song, it can just be a verse and a hook, and I could listen to it go back and forth between those two things like all day. Like it's
Hmm.
there's something like magnetic about the way they fit together. And I feel like that's kind of what we're looking for instead of like because I feel like as a producer before, I've definitely made stuff where it changes, but then it feels horrible to change back. Does that make sense? Like I don't, or I feel like there's even songs that come again. I won't name names, but like I feel like there's songs that come out like that where it's like, nah, this the change happens and it's just like, nah, we're just in this world now. We can't go
You
back
can't go
to
Yeah,
back,
what
right?
happened
when I think
before.
about hip hop beat switches, you're mentioning it. That's pretty interesting. Very rarely do they actually change back. Usually it's like a beat
Yeah.
change that stays, which can be hard. Yeah, I can't think of one where it's changing back on the top of my head, or that it sounded good. Maybe that's why it
Yeah,
sounded bad.
I'm sure there are ones, but
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of times I run into like, oh wait, this is just like a new song almost instead of a
Yeah, yeah.
change or something.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Yeah, the way you guys use it is like truly like bridges and like you're accentuating the songwriting aspect of it versus just like here's like a new beat to rap on or
Right,
sing
right,
on.
right.
Yeah, I think that's fascinating. And you know, lyrically, this album is like very in your face when it comes to like political worldviews, and it seems very hell bent on like activating something within people and generate a wave, as you say on the album itself. There's a lot of provocative statements being made, and I get this general impression that it feels like you guys are very unbothered by like you're unbothered by the prospect of needing to succumb to any sort of like expectation. I don't know if that comes with just like being a long-standing like musician for quite a while. It just feels like you're operating very freely and it makes the music feel like that in turn. And so I'm curious to know like what did you want people like to take away from the themes and what you guys are saying? Like what did you want people to feel after playing this record?
Well, I mean, I don't know what I want other people to feel, but like with MCA, if you could feel what I'm feeling, it's a musical masterpiece. Like, if you could just feel an inch, not of what I'm feeling, but how I feel when I write this, or just when I'm listening to it, that's what I want you like to have, just to have some real, a true, authentic feeling. But also to do that, you got to shake yourself up a little bit, and you got to. It's hard to have authentic feelings when you haven't even seen yourself for so long because you're so wrapped up, right? In so many different energies and shit. So sometimes you need something to help you shake it off, shake it off, shake it off. And then maybe, by the time whole life ahead of me comes on, you're like, okay, I'm back to me. Now I can hear, right? Like, so sometimes you just need to, that's all I want people to get out of it. And for them to be like, yo, this is a dope, it's another chapter with this motherfucker. Damn. You know what I mean? Like, damn, another one. Like, okay, let's go, keep going. Like, that's it. Just, have a good time. And just, but, shake some shit off. Feel it. Like, feel something. Like, don't forget that you can feel. Like, sometimes we forget, especially in hip hop, especially in like a cerebral kind of hip hop like vibe. Like, you forget, like, your body has to feel too.
Yeah,
Your body.
I think that's a good point you're making about like the cerebral hip hop because I think a lot of the hip hop, a lot of us kind of a lot of the fans of the music of this album would also like those kind of more abstract, experimental left field. I do find sometimes that that visceral kind of element of like the groove and the feeling isn't always as forward or as much of a priority. And I remember, I think I don't know if I was talking with Rap Ferreira or I was talking with Elucid, but like it was about the record. I think it was no, I think it was Elucid maybe, but like they both kind of said something similar, and I think I might be confusing thoughts, but it's the point remains is that I think it was Elucid when he was talking about just the idea of this was related to Bessie, the Bessie record, where he was saying like he wants people to like bob their head, like listen to what he's saying, but also kind of like bob their head and feel this and kind of like groove to it. Maybe this is rap rare, but I like
Mhm.
that feeling of like having be engaged kind of on your brain, think something, feel something like emotionally, but also just like feel something physically
Yeah,
and kind
yeah,
of feel like energized in a way and just like loose, like because that's not always the feeling you get. A lot of times you might get bogged down some very like intellectual stuff, or yeah, it's
yeah. And I
I
mean,
like that.
and it's all super dope. Except that sometimes it feels like when I used to DJ and people just stare at me. like I'm and they're staring. I'm having a great time just staring, but not dancing. Right. And so I think
Yeah,
with this record especially, it's not so much about the 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 lyricist and the performer as it is about the songs. So it's not like,
yeah.
oh, you're listening to what he's saying. No, you're listening to the wave generator song.
Hmm.
So it's a different door of perception is open.
And I'd love to, you kind of already touched on this new album that you guys are working on, so I'd love to know more about any upcoming projects or, tour dates, merch, anything that people should look out for, both as like wave generators, but also as solo artists, if there's anything to call out.
Well, first off, I think this will be out in time to say this. So, for anyone in New York, our record release show is going to be July 6th at Young
Okay, sweet.
Echoes with Andrew, Big Flowers, and Rose Image. And we're really excited about that. And there's a fall tour on the horizon, but we're super close to being able to announce all the dates, but not quite yet.
That's
Yeah.
sick. And then you also have the record with Andrew, I think that's coming out this summer. I forget
I,
soon, pretty soon, right?
yeah. I think he said the first single will come out not long after the show I just mentioned. So like
Okay.
mid-July. Yeah, yeah.
Sweet,
Yeah, but
sweet.
I'm super excited about that. It's like a very fun record, I think.
I really liked I think you released the album cover, right?
Singles cover.
Oh, that was the singles cover. That
Yeah,
one was
yeah.
really sweet. That one was really cool. I was like, damn,
Oh
this is
no, I'm
fresh.
sorry. You're right. You're right. He did drop
Okay,
the
yeah,
album
yeah. I think I
cover
saw
too.
it. Yeah, like it
Yeah.
was it was really cool. And then you guys have mentioned you're already recording or at least trying to create the next wave
Mhm.
generators. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. We I'm in love with the demo. You know what I'm saying? I'm in love with the demo. So like my favorite wave generator song right now is the last demo we did. This shit
Mm.
is crazy. This all I listen to when I'm walking my dog. This shit is fucking crazy.
Yeah,
And
I think we're like really inspired by so much stuff that's going on where people are like really staying on top of it with like releasing a healthy amount of music throughout the year,
Hmm.
like and we're not there yet. This is our record for this year, but but we hope to pick up the pace like Nosaj was saying, like Fat Boy Sharif kind of like sat him down and like hipped him to like you don't have to wait 2 years between
mm-hmm.
albums anymore, and like
Hmm.
and like also like
She said,
all the
drop it if you got it.
yeah, all the bands like King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard and stuff like that, where it's just like
I fuck with them, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, wait, they've been around how long, and there's 30 albums out or something. I'm not saying we're gonna, who knows how it's gonna manifest, but we're like excited to keep it pushing in that way, you know.
I mean, it's as long as you have something to say. If
Yeah,
you don't,
exactly.
then
Right,
don't just force it, obviously, because
Right,
that's
right,
right,
when
right.
people
right.
tune out really quick. When they can
Exactly.
tell you're just
Mm-hmm.
trying to dump to just, stay relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's
Right,
where you
right,
start
right.
to Sharif does a really good job of that, I find, because he's really mastered these like because he has another one and I've heard it and it's fucking incredible with Dunce Cap, the
Yeah.
Psychedelics Wrote the Bible. I think that's dropping next month.
Yeah.
Um,
No
he's really
spiritual
good at
thought.
staying in your rotation with these like really intentional creative EPs, and then you'll have like the bigger record like Decay last year, and then yeah, he'll always kind of have the bigger albums, but he has these EPs that just kind of keep you going. I think, and then Sharif also is like I feel like every time now he's like there. I feel he's one of the most busy people in the
Yeah.
underground. That guy is at every show. When I was I mentioned I was in New York last summer. I saw him like 4 times within 8 days. Like
No, yeah, yeah,
he
yeah,
was
yeah.
at he was everywhere.
Just saw him the other night. I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
he's great. Yeah, and he's just I mean, he's a blessing.
yeah,
Sharif is truly a blessing, man, because he gets busy for real.
yeah, and does all the features, and they're always cool as
Mhm.
fuck. And yeah. So I mean, yeah, I have to say, I'm really just impressed with the energy that you guys were able to put forward with this record. Like, I think you really achieved your goal that you were saying of like having
Mhm.
people to feel things. Because, like I said, I was just like feeling pretty run down, feeling pretty low, and just kind of really stagnant. Like, it wasn't really even that depressed. I just was feeling really kind of I think as you said before, right? Like sometimes you just get really busy, you get really confused in a weird
Mhm.
mind state to where you're not really even sad or happy. You're just kind of like going through the motions. That's almost worse. I feel like
Yeah,
that's when
yeah,
you feel like you're kind of lifeless. And
yeah.
I
Because
listen
you're
to
like,
this and
where am I? Where am I? Where am
yeah,
I? I know. Sometimes I have to listen to. I have certain old records I listen to, just to make sure I still have feeling. Just to make sure I'm not listening to it to rape it for a sample, or I'm not like I'm. I still have feel like, yo, you know you. Yes, you can
hmm
still shed a tear during Curtis Mayfield to be invisible. Like
mm,
you know what I'm saying? Like you're in there somewhere, and don't worry, you're still there. You're still there. And yeah, that's what this record is. To shake the shit. Come on, get busy. Like you know what I mean? And it's a fun record. That's the shit. Because I don't like on the surface, because everyone's so serious about it when we talk about it. But it's a hell of a fun record.
oh
Like
yeah,
it's a fun fucking record. It's just that it's fucking hard.
hmm
So it's like when you drive across town with your friends, you're like, oh shit, there's some shit. Like, you know what I mean? That's the record we want to make.
yeah. And I think you really achieved it. I really achieved it.
Thank
Oh,
you.
thank you, man.
And I just want to say thank you also just for coming on the show today. This was a
Mm.
blast.
Oh, it was our
Uh,
pleasure.
yeah, no, it's been a fan for a while, and I'm really happy we could have this conversation. And I'm really excited to see, the next record, and maybe catch a tour date
Hell
if
yeah.
I'm
I
ever
bet you
blessed to come around.
we're gonna be in Toronto before you know it.
That would be a blessing.
I'm
That would be
sure.
a
I'm sure.
blessing.
I'm sure. Also, I just want to shout out Artemis, shout out CX.
Yes.
Because when we started Wave Generators, they were part of it as well. So we just want to shout them out and shout brothers and everybody else. Still tip dog. Everybody, man, and listen to the record so you can come to the show. So
Yeah, yeah,
I'll give you the record for free. You know what I mean? Just listen to it so you can come to the show so we can wow.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Shout out Dove. Shout out Dove for I know this is on Fused Arrow Records,
Oh
doing a
yeah.
lot of good stuff, a lot of great work. Every record coming off that label has been
Blessing.
fire.
Yeah, for sure. All
Absolutely.
right, brother.
Yeah. Peace out. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And yeah, congratulations on a great record. Take care.
All right, my
Oh,
brother.
thanks,
Peace.
man.
Peace. So there we have it. Another episode of the Rap Music Plug podcast presented by QLC TV. I hope this episode gave you some new perspectives and insights into what the greatest art form known to man in hip-hop music has to offer. If you want to support the show in the most meaningful way possible, it would be my absolute honor to have you as a patron in the new Rap Music Plug Podcast Patreon. Through this Patreon, you will be getting exclusive content such as bonus episodes, exclusive album recommendations, exclusive playlists, early access to episodes, and more. And above all, though, you will be able to support the show directly in a way that will not only justify the crazy amount of time I spend on this show already, but allow me to cover some of the expenses related to supporting all of these great artists that we cover on the show through the website, and will allow us to sustain and build on this amazing growth that the RMPP has experienced recently. So if you have any questions about any of the Patreon stuff, or just want to keep tabs on the show, interact with me on rap music and all the great stuff that we can talk about, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at rapmusicplugpod, or shoot me an email at qlctv.podcast@gmail.com. You can also rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts and subscribe on YouTube and Spotify as well. But that's enough self-promotion for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Peace.